My daughter and her husband tried to cash out my savings, over $200,000, using my name. I didn't yell. I documented every call, every receipt, every lie. By the time they reached the courthouse, I had already built my fortress of paper. And this, it was only the beginning. It was one of those Savannah mornings that looked harmless. Soft sun, jasmine in the air, and people laughing like nothing in the world could hurt them. I got to the Willow Cafe early. Same corner table by the window. My knees prefer the spot near the aisle. The waitress, young and kind, asked, "Coffee top off, ma'am?" I smiled. "I'm good, baby." That's what I always said. I used to be a church secretary. Saved every penny like salvation depended on it. The habit never left me. Isolde waved, her voice high enough for the room. Talon followed, tapping his phone face up on the table. Camera already rolling. "We're celebrating Mom," she said, sliding into her chair. The smell of butter and pecans hung thick in the air, but I could already taste the trouble. I noticed her tote unzipped, lens glinting under the flap. They were filming. I straightened my purse strap across my lap and tucked my card case deeper inside. You learn to protect what's yours quietly. We ordered mimosas. I talked about weather and azaleas, things safe and light. Then, like a cymbal crash, Isolde said it, loud enough for the next table. "Sweetheart, use Mom's card. She's got about 210 saved." Forks froze midair. Someone chuckled. The name Mom turned into a currency symbol. My cheeks warmed, but my voice didn't waver. "Now hold on, baby. That card carries my name." Talon leaned back. That grin of his practiced, "It's family money. Mom, we'll make it right." His hand drifted toward my purse like it was casual, natural. I folded my napkin instead. "Let's not confuse generosity with ownership," I said. His laugh thinned the air. Isolde brushed her hair, pretending it was all fun. "It's just for our vlog, a cute brunch moment. People love family teamwork." The phone tilted toward me. "Smile, Mom." I looked at the lens and saw myself not as a mother, but as a prop. I told the server, "Please split the check 3 ways." She blinked, then nodded. The words landed heavy. Talon sighed. "We're trying to build something. Pay the mortgage, daycare, and you wouldn't understand modern pressure." I met his eyes. "Honey, I paid off 2 mortgages before email existed. Don't tell me about pressure." He looked away. The brunch dragged on. I kept my back straight, counting the sound of clinking glasses to calm my pulse. I tipped the waitress in cash, saying her name. "Thank you, Renee." So the moment had some dignity left. Then I said, "I've got cans to sort at the church pantry," and left before my voice trembled. Back home, I brewed tea and opened my laptop. My timeline flashed, Isolde Delacroix Livy. Mom's card came through big time. My stomach dropped. The video showed Talon with shopping bags, her captions reading, #family funds, #blessed. Strangers cheered them on. "Wish my mom was that generous." One wrote. I replayed it twice. Froze on Talon saying, "She won't mind. We're her legacy." Legacy. The word twisted sharp. I whispered, "Legacy isn't a debit card." My hands didn't shake when I reached for the fireproof box under my desk. Statements, will, marriage papers, all lined like soldiers. I opened a new folder on my computer. Titled it, for Monday, "Evidence isn't vengeance, it's protection." Before bed, I laid my card case on the table, tracing my embossed name with one finger. I said it aloud, steady and quiet. "This name still belongs to me." Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown account. A photo of Talon at the mall, captioned, "Round 2 tonight?" I grabbed my notebook and keys. Some lessons, I thought, had to be written in real time. The photo came through with a timestamp, 6:17 p.m. Talenti in the electronics aisle, grinning like a man about to crown himself king of gadgets. I whispered, "That's now," and opened my banking app. 2 taps later, my card was locked, my dignity intact. I set alerts for any charge over $200 and slipped my phone into my purse. I chose comfort shoes, the kind with soles that don't squeak, and tucked my notebook beside my keys. "Dinner at my place tomorrow," I texted Isolde. "Bring your budget and your calendar." Calm words, deliberate bait. The mall was buzzing with weekend noise, but my mind was still. I parked near the exit, facing Pooler Parkway, where security cameras met the glow of streetlights. Inside, I took a seat on a bench across from the electronics superstore. The reflections in the glass showed me more than any front view could. I bought a small black coffee from the kiosk, hands steady, heart steady. The young barista said, "How's your night going, ma'am?" I smiled. "Just watching the clock, baby." Talon stood under the fluorescent glow of big screens, comparing prices on a 70-inch TV. His cart overflowed, laptops, a gaming console, a tower of accessories, greed rolls with squeaky wheels. His did. Isolde floated beside him, talking into her phone. "We're upgrading the home office. Hash productivity," she chirped. "All sunshine, no truth." I wrote in my notebook. POS #3, camera left, associate Kayla. I zoomed in, took a quiet photo, timestamped 6:42 p.m. at the counter. Kayla smiled. "Evening going okay?" she asked. Talon's voice had that easy drawl he used on waitresses and strangers he wanted to impress. "Sure is," he said, sliding my card across. The beep of each scanned item was sharp as a warning. When declined flashed red, the pause felt eternal. Kayla's polite tone barely covered the shift in the air. "We'll need the cardholder present, sir." Isolde stepped closer. All charm and sugar. "She's older. Technology confuses her. We used it this morning." The couple behind them whispered. Talon tried again. Declined. Same sound, like a judge's gavel. My phone buzzed. I let it. He looked around. Sweating pride. Kayla said gently, "I'm sorry. Sir, company policy." He muttered something about glitches. But the truth had already settled in. From my bench, I watched a stranger's eyes turn toward them. As embarrassment did its slow burn. Isolde turned the camera on herself. "Elder fraud prevention just kicked in." She laughed nervously. I recognized damage control when I saw it. The manager came over. Gray tie, calm voice. "We'll need to speak with the cardholder," he said. I texted Talon one line. "Family dinner tomorrow. Bring receipts." By the time they left the cart behind, I had footage. No faces, just facts. Proof framed by time and light. Back home, I dictated a memo. Electronic superstore, POS #3, 6:42 p.m. Decline. Cardholder absent. I filed it in a folder titled Elder Financial Independence. The printer hummed as I highlighted the words that turned me into a walking bank. Text after text followed. "Mom, this is humiliating," Isolde wrote. "Humiliation is a choice when you spend what isn't yours." I replied. "Unlock it," Talon demanded. "We'll talk tomorrow, on paper." An hour later, the store manager called. "Miss Delacroix, we can provide a formal statement for your bank." I thanked him. Voice steady. "Please include register number, total, and the phrase cardholder absent." When I hung up, I poured a cup of tea. The same Louisiana as always, on my kitchen table. 3 plates waited for tomorrow's dinner. Not a meal, but a reckoning. My notebook lay open beside them. A new line inked under today's date. When respect declines, accounts follow. By 7 o'clock, my bungalow smelled of roasted chicken and lemon polish. I set 3 plates, each with an agenda folded neatly beside the napkin. Budget, boundaries, receipts. A 4th chair sat empty at the end of the table, reserved for Cormac Delaney. Truth, I thought, deserved its own seat. When Isolde arrived, her eyes darted to the corners as if searching for hidden cameras. "No filming," I said, nodding toward the note on the fridge. "Privacy requested, respect expected." Talon followed, tote bag limp in his hand, pretending confidence. "We shouldn't need an agenda for family," he said. I kept my voice soft. "We didn't need my card for family either." I pointed to the list in front of them. "No yelling, no filming, 1 speaker at a time." My tone was calm, the kind that makes a storm hesitate. I handed them worksheets I'd drawn up on yellow paper, columns for income, bills, and extras. "Show me math, not vibes," I said. Isolde started listing brand partnerships and home office growth, a string of fancy words that didn't add up to numbers. Talon penciled in necessary $85,000. I circled it. wrote electronics, cologne, and waited. "What's the repayment plan?" He shrugged. "We're family." I looked him square in the eye. "We're also adults." I added my notes. Groceries I'd covered, daycare favors, the insurance extension I'd paid for. Sharing starts with consent. I told them. "You didn't ask, you assumed." Silence fell over the table like dust after construction. I opened a manila folder and laid out the printed store summary. Date, time. POS #3, subtotal $85,097, with the note, cardholder absent. Then came the screenshots from the brunch livestream and the mall footage. No faces, just evidence. "This is what happened," I said evenly. Talon chuckled weakly. "Everybody upgrades." I tapped the highlighted line. Declined by cardholder. Elder rights policy invoked. I read from the memo. The phrase settled heavy in the room. Isolde whispered. "You made us look stupid." I folded my hands. "No, baby. You did that when you treated my name like a password." The sound of paper sleeves filled the room. Receipts rustled like thunder waiting for rain. At 7:45, a knock came. Cormac entered. Tall, calm, carrying his leather folder. "Good boundaries, Miss Delacroix," he said. Taking the empty chair, he explained the law simply. Using someone's funds without permission could be classified as financial exploitation. He commended me for freezing the card and preserving the paper trail. "Documentation is protection," he said. Isolde's face flushed. "We're not criminals." Cormac nodded. "Then signing a repayment plan should be easy." I slid forward 2 pages. "No access to my account, all requests in writing." I added an optional clause. "Emergency fund, capped, reviewed monthly." Talon pushed back his chair. "This is insulting," I smiled thinly. "No, this is accountability." Isolde's eyes glossed. "Mom, we're building a future." I pointed at the blank line labeled repayment. "Then start by building honesty." Just as the clock struck 8, my phone pinged. A new email from Kayla Mercer. I opened it and read aloud. "Customer insisted cardholder wouldn't mind." The room froze. Talon's jaw tightened. Isolde's eyes fell to the table. I placed a pen between us. "Sign," I said quietly, "or I'll call the bank tonight." Outside, a car door slammed. A shadow crossed the curtain, and a firm knock followed. "Evening, folks," came Deputy Lila Roscoe's voice. "Everything peaceful in here?" I looked from the pen to my daughter. "Your move," I said. Deputy Lila Roscoe stepped inside my dining room, her voice even and polite. "Just making sure everybody's safe tonight," she said, glancing at the pen that still sat untouched between us. I explained what happened in plain language, an $85,000 attempt. My card declined by choice. Boundaries refused. Isolde tried softening her tone. "We're just sorting family matters, ma'am." Away, Talon muttered, "Overreacting," under his breath. The deputy's eyes met his. "Civil turns criminal when consent's missing," she said. I repeated my rules. No filming, no speakerphone, no withdrawals without my word. When she asked, "Any threats?" I smiled faintly. "Only to my savings." That got a nervous chuckle, but no real laughter. Minutes later, Isolde's phone lit up. I caught the headline of her post. "Elder bank glitch ruined our night. Pray for patience." I didn't need to scroll. The phrasing told the whole story. I knew the tone. Pity disguised as prayer. Comments started to roll in. "Older folks get confused sometimes." I felt that word. Confused. Brand me like a stamp. "Delete it," I said quietly, "or I'll post documents." Talon smirked. "She's not naming you." "But she's pointing at me," I said, raising the printed POS report. Deputy Roscoe's jaw flexed. "You might want to take that down," she advised. "Online harassment can complicate this." I stood, opened a drawer, and slid 2 envelopes onto the table. "Cease and desist," I read, "and a no-contact boundary." The deputy's brow lifted slightly. "You prepared these tonight?" I nodded. "Before dessert." I read the line aloud so it couldn't be twisted later. "Do not use or represent access to my financial instruments without my written consent." Cormac, still at the corner chair, nodded. "That's airtight. Isolde whispered. Mama, this is extreme. So was $85,000, I answered. When they refused to sign, I handed the copies to the deputy. Add your incident number. I said she did. I texted digital versions to their phones. The read checkmarks blinked. No replies. Silence has its own grammar. Outside, the air felt cooler. I walked them to the porch and held out my palm. Keys, I said. House and car fob? Talon shifted, claiming he'd lost the spare. The deputy stepped closer. Let's have the one you've got, sir. He dropped it into my hand like it burned. A locksmith comes at sunrise. I told them, this isn't punishment, it's perimeter. Isolde's voice wavered. So we're banished? You're welcome, I said, by appointment. With respect, I texted the new visiting hours and pinned them in the family thread. The deputy left, headlights sweeping over their faces like a final warning. Monday morning, I walked into Coastal First Bank with my folder and my resolve. The fraud specialist and banker listened as I handed over the documents. The mall incident, the live stream screenshots, the deputy's case number. We'll flag your profile and set do not authorize markers, the banker said. We changed my PIN, added security keys, and froze any linked devices. I revoked their beneficiary status and named Cormac Delaney and Pastor Booker as emergency contacts. A trust might serve you well, she suggested. I nodded. A woman's name should live somewhere safe. By afternoon, I sat across from a trust attorney drafting the Marveline Delacroix Revocable Living Trust. My bungalow, savings, and CDs went inside. I added a clause, respect is a condition of inheritance. We scheduled a notary for tomorrow, right at my dining table. As I left, my phone buzzed. A failed Zelle attempt for $1,500. Another ping. Multiple login failures. I watched the alerts fade, the system holding strong. My trust folder lay on the counter, heavy with proof, I whispered to myself. Try again, and the next receipt will have a judge's signature. The mobile notary arrived right on time, her briefcase clicking like a metronome of order. I laid out my driver's license, the trust documents, and the folder labeled Anchor. Antonia Vale joined by FaceTime, calm as a morning sermon, confirming her role as successor trustee. No borrowing, no emotional emergencies, she repeated. I initialed each page deliberately, my pen slow at the line that sealed my independence. The notary's stamp echoed through the dining room, the same table where family once mistook my silence for surrender when it was done. I filed copies in my fireproof box and uploaded the scans to the cloud. I texted Isolde. Estate paperwork complete. The message showed read. Then nothing, silence can weigh more than sound. By mid-morning, my phone buzzed. The fraud unit from Coastal First called. Another attempt to breach. Someone had posed as me, answering old security questions, even knowing my childhood hymn. They failed the passphrase, the agent said. I smiled faintly. That's the point. Yesterday, I'd set a new 6-word phrase, one I only speak in person. I added a second safeguard, a question about a street name from a town that doesn't exist anymore. The bank flagged both their numbers. I logged the call, noting the time and mass device ID matching last night's Zelle attempt. Then I texted Cormac. Second strike. Spoofed call. Passphrase held. His reply came swift. Paper beats noise. Keep stacking. The sting faded. Discipline stayed. Before noon, I stopped by the HOA office. The manager, Mrs. Dunbar, greeted me with that careful smile people use when gossip travels faster than fact. I handed her an access revocation form and updated my guest list to by appointment only. I requested the weekend's camera footage and filed a courtesy notice. No pickups or deliveries under my name. Perimeter isn't paranoia, I told her. It's policy. She nodded and added a delivery pin option. I chose one simple enough to recall, meaningless to anyone else. When she printed the confirmation receipt, I photographed it. Every brick in my wall deserved a record. At 2, I walked into the church office. The admin looked uneasy and slid her tablet across the desk. A private Facebook post blinked on screen. Pray for a daughter dealing with a controlling elder. Bank froze her wedding dreams. I didn't flinch. Bless your heart can slice sharper than a blade. I asked for Pastor Allen. When he arrived, I laid the papers before him. The POS log, cease and desist, deputy case number. I just want accuracy, I said. He nodded. Facts are merciful. Within minutes, he drafted a group post clarifying that boundaries protect dignity on both sides. I thanked him and left. Dignity restored doesn't need applause. By late afternoon, a certified envelope waited on my porch, Talon's small claims filing. He alleged I promised to buy a luxury electronics set as a gift. The attached evidence was a screenshot of Isolde's brunch text. Use Mom's card. She's got $210K saved. I laughed once. Dry and low, I called Cormac. Frivolous, he said. We'll counter with receipts. Together we prepared the response. Fraud record, transaction log, trust clause, deputy witness. I pinned the court date on my fridge with an anchor magnet. Evening came with the locksmith's van pulling into my driveway. New deadbolts, fresh codes, guest pins that expire after 2 hours. I canceled shared streaming and ride apps. Digital locks matter too. Antonia confirmed the deed transfer would finalize tomorrow. I drafted a short letter of wishes. One sentence bold. Consent is not implied by relation. The house breathed easier. Boundaries now part of its bones. At dusk, my phone buzzed again. Isolde's text. You chose strangers over your own. I stared at it. Then at my trust binder, thick with evidence and stamps. I typed back, I chose consent over chaos, but didn't send it. I saved it as a photograph instead. Proof of restraint. Tomorrow, the courthouse clerk would read 2 names and 1 stack of paper heavier than pity. I arrived before the courthouse opened, early enough that the janitor was still polishing the floors. The marble gleamed like it was holding its breath. My binder labeled Anchor felt heavier than it should. 7 tabs of evidence. Every page whispering that truth may be slow, but it is steady. Cormac met me near the security line. Suit pressed, calm like a man who's seen this story before. Answer clean. Don't volunteer. Paper speaks. He reminded me. I nodded, repeating my bank passphrase under my breath like prayer. Consent isn't implied by relation. I said it once. Quiet to make it real. Through the courthouse glass, I spotted Isolde and Talon. They looked dressed for theater. Not truth. His tie was crooked. Her smile strained. Deputy Lila Roscoe's body cam blinked steady red. That tiny light was my insurance policy. I texted Antonia. In position. She replied. Steady as you are. I tucked the phone away. My hands didn't shake. The clerk called our case just before 10. The courtroom smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and nerves. The judge, silver hair, steady eyes, set the tone. We'll keep it brief. Civil. Factual. Talon stood first. Your Honor, he said with a confidence too rehearsed. Mrs. Delacroix promised to pay for a luxury electronics package for our wedding. This was her gift. He presented screenshots of texts and a printed message supposedly from me. The ink on the page still looked wet. Cormac leaned forward. Objection. Foundation and authenticity. The judge asked where the document came from. Talon's attorney mumbled, stumbled on metadata. The judge's brows arched. So you can't verify who wrote this or when. Silence. The room felt smaller. I folded my hands and waited, the weight of my wedding ring pressing gently into my finger like my late husband's voice saying, Be still. Marv. Then came our turn. Cormac moved with the rhythm of an old jazz record, smooth, deliberate. Exhibit A. The bank fraud prevention letter confirming the spoofed call blocked by my new verbal passphrase. The judge read it aloud. Exhibit B. The merchant POS log showing the $85,000 attempt at the electronics superstore. The screen froze, declined. Exhibit C. Deputy Roscoe's body cam footage from my porch, time-stamped, clear as gospel. When it played, even the court stenographer paused. The judge turned to me. Mrs. Delacroix, please explain this passphrase you created. I lifted my chin. Consent isn't implied by relation, I said. The air shifted. Someone coughed just to break the silence. The judge wrote something long before speaking. Case dismissed with prejudice. Costs to plaintiff. Show cause hearing for possible sanctions regarding falsified evidence. Her gavel struck, firm and final, for the first time in months. I felt the ground answer me back. Outside. The courthouse steps glowed under the noon sun. Cormac was already dictating the protective memorandum, his phone recording every word. "You built your fortress right way," he said. I smiled, small, brick by brick. At the clerk's window, I requested copies of the order, the body cam entry, and the sanction notation. The clerk, a kind woman with soft eyes, slid me a brochure about harassment protections. "You've got a record now," she whispered, "and records are louder than anger." I thanked her, folded the paper neatly, added it to anchor on the steps. I heard my name. Maya Kincaid, Talon's HR manager, approached. Her face carried that mix of courtesy and curiosity that only corporate people perfect. "Miss Delacroix, we received a fraud alert copied to our department. The phone number used for the spoofed call? It's tied to our company plan." I didn't flinch. "Was it him?" I asked. She nodded. "We're investigating misuse of resources. His access to payroll systems is suspended." Talon stiffened beside her. "This is personal business," he hissed. Maya's voice stayed level. "So is theft when it involves a company device." Then she turned and walked off, heels clicking like punctuation marks. I logged the time, witnesses, and summary in my notes app before closing the binder. Paper over passion always. By the parking deck, Isolde found me. Her hair had lost its shape, her voice its charm. "You humiliated us," she said. I answered softly, "No, sweetheart. You did that the moment you treated my name like a debit card." Her face reddened. "You'll regret this," she whispered. "You'll end up alone." I looked her straight on. "Alone is peaceful when it's mine." She fumbled her phone. "We'll start a GoFundMe. People love a good victim story." I sighed. "Make sure you spell defamation right when you post it." She froze. Words that used to pierce me just slid past. I pressed the elevator button, turned to her one last time. "Take your time, baby. Truth doesn't rush." Back in my car, the air conditioning hummed like approval. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. A broker message, confirming interest in liquidating CDs for wedding fund block. The timestamp matched one of Isolde's old college friends. They'd moved from fraud to networking. I took a screenshot, forwarded it to Cormac in the bank, logged it under incidents. Then I leaned back. Eyes on the courthouse reflected in the windshield. The building stood solid, a reminder that justice might not love you, but it will recognize you if you stand still long enough. They'd tried to reach my wallet through blood, now through strangers. Tomorrow. I closed that door too, quietly, permanently. The morning air in Savannah carried that kind of crispness that makes truth easier to say. I walked into the broker's office with my government ID, a certified copy of the court order, and my anchor binder hugged close. The receptionist glanced at her screen, then at me. "You've got a fraud alert flag, ma'am." I nodded. "That's why I'm here." My tone left no room for confusion. I asked for audit logs. Who called? From what number? At what time? Regulation SP gives clients that right. The manager joined us, pulling a recording from their compliance system. A young woman's voice said, "I'm her assistant. She's asked me to liquidate CDs for a wedding deposit." I didn't need a second listen. That was Taryn Finch, Isolde's old college roommate, the girl who once burned ribs in my backyard on the 4th of July. The manager winced. "We should have verified identity by callback." "You should," I said evenly. He escalated it to compliance, froze all instructions, and printed a notarized incident summary. I took the document, scanned it to my cloud, and texted Cormac. Found the leak, paper in hand, in the car. I scrolled through old photos, Taryn laughing in my kitchen, sticky barbecue sauce on her sleeve. The betrayal hit like smoke in the throat. Familiar, unpleasant, unforgettable. A voicemail chimed, Taryn's voice again. "I only wanted to help Isolde get what's hers. You're sitting on cash you don't need." I transcribed it, timestamped it, filed under incidents. One call to the bank fraud desk added her number to the national bulletin. My pulse slowed as precision replaced pain. Then I called Pastor Miles, asked to borrow the fellowship hall. "Neutral ground," I said. "Well, with witnesses." He agreed. I wrote a list on the back of my grocery receipt. Acceptable outcomes, restitution, apology, boundary when unacceptable, excuses, access, manipulation. That list became my compass. By afternoon, St. Bartholomew's Fellowship Hall was set. Fluorescent lights, metal chairs, one coffee urn that hissed like judgment. Present were Isolde, Talon, Pastor Miles, Antonia on video, and me. Cormac was on standby. Ground rules, no shouting. One mic, all documented. Pastor opened softly. Let's keep this neighborly and lawful. I laid out the week like a timeline on a crime board, card misuse, $85,000 attempt, court dismissal, HR action. Now the broker leak. I told them plainly, we end this with a restitution agreement and no contact addendum, or we proceed legally. Talon's smirk faded when he saw the notarized folder. Isolde's lip trembled, but she stayed quiet. The room smelled faintly of coffee and fear. I opened the packet. Broker's incident summary. Call log snapshot, voicemail transcript, court order, HR memo. Identity theft doesn't require success, I said. The attempt is harm enough. My proposal was clear. Repay investigation costs. Write an apology. Accept boundaries. Attend the church's financial ethics workshop. Antonia read the trust clause. Any coercive act triggers a 2-year suspension of discretionary benefits. We're family, Isolde pleaded. Pastor answered before I could. Family is where accountability should start. I met her eyes. This isn't revenge. It's repair with receipts. Talon tried one last bluff about promised support. I asked for the contract. None existed. His phone buzzed. HR suspension, now termination. His face drained. You ruined my career. No, I said. You used company tools to rob your mother-in-law. He looked down. Isolde muttered about privacy. Privacy ends where fraud begins, I replied. Silence folded over us. I placed one final sheet on the table. The clawback offer. Sign today. Avoid charges, restitution, written apology, social media retraction, and 40 hours of community service. Pastor produced the church ledger. We'll record hours weekly, he said gently. They hesitated. I added, complete 20 hours and I'll pay for one financial class. The offer hung in the air like incense. After a long pause, Isolde whispered, Fine. Talon scribbled his name, the ink jerking across the line. We notarized every page. I emailed the PDFs to Cormac, the bank, and Antonia, then handed copies to Pastor. My checklist was short now. 14-day restitution review, 72-hour apology audit, 30-day service log. I told them any message must go through Pastor or Antonia. No more middle-of-the-night texts pretending love equals access. By evening, back home. I brewed chamomile and wrote in my planner. Boundaries are a form of mercy. Clean, not cold. Headlights flashed outside. A process server stepped from a sedan, handed me a sealed envelope. Subpoena for Taryn Finch, naming me a witness. The broker's compliance team was widening their case. I took a photo of the sticker, logged it, and set my outfit for morning. Courtroom neat, bakery soft. My inbox pinged. The HOA confirming trespass enforcement starts Friday. I exhaled, long and full. The night smelled like rain and printer ink. Some call it revenge. I call it record-keeping with grace. I started before dawn, when Savannah still wore its hush like a shawl. My travel mug steamed in the dark, and my anchor binder rested against the passenger seat. Today wasn't about revenge. It was about finishing what needed finishing. Mrs. Jolly, my neighbor, waved from her porch. Morning, Miss Marveline, go get your piece. I smiled back. Yes, ma'am. It's a paperwork kind of day. At Back River Bakery, I picked up hot biscuits. Butter, soft enough to remind me that some comforts don't ask permission. I texted Cormac. Heading to compliance. Blue tabs loaded. He replied, Stay measured. Let the paper talk. Savannah was waking. Delivery trucks rattling, birds gossiping, and each sound felt like rhythm for resolve. The compliance suite smelled of toner and lemon polish. 2 officers reviewed my folder, flipping pages that had taken weeks to build. They confirmed procedural failures. No secondary verification, no callback. One dialed Taryn Finch on speaker. She cracked like thin glass, admitting she'd helped Isolde after Talon sent her a script. I wrote down her exact phrase, "Liquidate CDs for wedding vendors." Those 6 words sealed it. The officers initiated disciplinary action and printed an apology letter on company letterhead. "We're issuing a firm-wide block on any third-party liquidation instructions," one said. I nodded. "Oh, good. Let this be the last time my name becomes somebody's shortcut." Relief, clean and sharp, replaced any thrill of victory. I signed, slid the document under the blue tab, and walked out lighter. At the courthouse. I filed every page that marked this saga's end. Restitution, no contact, conditional non-prosecution, and the protective order with identity theft notation. Each stamp sounded deliberate, final. "That's the sound of boundaries," I whispered. The clerk smiled, maybe recognizing that tone women my age use when something's been fought for too long. I asked about a permanent pin for trust-related queries. She arranged it before lunch. Antonia, ever precise. Texted, Clause 9. B. Active. Suspension logged. For the first time in weeks, the sun didn't feel like surveillance. It felt like proof that peace could be procedural. At noon. Waterfront Square shimmered under hard light. Pastor Eldridge set up his phone camera. Isolde and Talon stood small in the open, reading from a paper. "We attempted to access funds without consent. We're sorry. We will make restitution and complete 40 hours of service." The video went live. Pastor stamped the ledger, 2 hours credited. He said, "Confession step 1. Step 2's cans on the shelf." I answered. "Step 3's staying off my accounts." They didn't argue. I gave them Tuesdays at the food pantry. Accountability doesn't erase dignity. It rewrites it. Back home. I worked through Antonia's checklist. We rotated safes, replaced cards, updated every password. Access revocation letters went to every institution. Each stamped and scanned. I signed a new power of attorney. Antonia primary. Cormac secondary. Isolde excluded for 24 months. The HOA emailed, "Trespass enforcement effective at noon." "That'll do," I said to no one, and brewed tea in the quiet house. This wasn't triumph. It was balance rediscovered. Later, by the curb, Isolde asked softly, "Does this mean you're done being my mother?" I met her eyes. "Motherhood isn't a bank. Honey, it's a backbone. Bring yours." I handed her an envelope. "Just a meal voucher, not money. Eat, reflect, rebuild." She nodded, eyes wet, and walked away. I didn't hug. Mercy isn't always soft. Evening settled. I hung a new checklist on the fridge. Called my choir director. "Put me back on alto," I said, and she laughed. "Where you belong." I folded my husband's quilt, stroked the worn fabric, then wrote to my grandson. "Money is loud, integrity is louder. On my porch, river air brushed my cheek." The phone buzzed. An email from the broker inviting me to consult on senior protection policy. Paid. Another from HR confirming Talon's termination. Isolde's first 4 volunteer hours verified. I logged it all and closed the binder. Then the phone rang again. My husband's old union hall asking if I'd speak to widows about protecting their pensions. I smiled into the quiet. Some fights end in paperwork. Others begin in purpose. I ironed my navy blazer and laid out the binder. Tomorrow, another woman will need her boundaries, with teeth. As I set the navy blazer on the chair, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "Savannah area code," a voice said. "Mrs. Delacroix, your name just came up in another trust dispute." My breath caught mid-sip of coffee. Another family, another ledger. Maybe peace isn't permanent. Maybe it's just on layaway.